Look, who not only managed to do an entire month's worth of videos, but has also done 2 TBR M.A.S.H videos in like consecutive months. I'm doing well, or better than I was last year anyway. Hi everyone, my name is Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be the February round of TBR M.A.S.H. For anyone who doesn't know, TBR M.A.S.H is my TBR game. It is inspired by the childhood game of M.A.S.H. Usually you would use M.A.S.H to predict how your life is going to go. I use my game to dictate how my reading life is going to go for the next month. Each of these cards has a prompt on them. I use a random number generator to work my way around the board, eliminating the prompt each time until there is only one left in each of these sections, and that is what I use to pick the books I'm going to read this month. I also then have a couple of extra things. So we have got M.A.S.H in the middle, which in the game stands for mansion, apartment, shack, house. In my game, mansion is a big book, apartment is a small book, shack is a book you've been putting off, and house is comfortable, so it's a mood read. We then do have the extras in the middle as well, so each of the prompts has a colour, and if the same colour comes up twice, I do have to pick an extra one. But these are specific books that were picked for me by my friends in an earlier round of TBR M.A.S.H last March, and those ones that I have to read, I have no choice about them. So I think that's pretty much all you need to know for the game. All I really need to tell you is, well, actually, I'm trying to remember because I've not been doing these consecutively. I used to have a punishment if I didn't finish my TBR from the previous month. So I should tell you now that I did finish my TBR. Well, I have like one book left to read, but I'm listening to the audiobook and I have like 2 and a bit hours left of it, and I'm on the last day of the month right now, so I should be able to finish that today. But other than that, I have finished everything on my TBR, so there will be no punishments, there'll be no extras picked right at the beginning. Obviously we could have extras as the game go on. And then what I also like to tell you is if I have any mandatory reads this month. So I am a co-host of Christoph Along, which is a read-along that's been reading most of J. Christoph's books, not all of them, but most of them. We're actually on our last series that we're reading at the minute, which is the Empire of the Vampire series. We gave ourselves a little bit longer to read the book that we're on right now, which is Empire of the Vampire, partly because it's a chunkier book and partly because he wanted to kind of time it with the release of the sequel. So I actually have the first book in the series to reread before, I think sort of like the 3rd week of the month. We haven't actually planned when the live show is going to be, which I should probably do soon, but Empire of the Vampire is one that I do have to read this month, so hopefully that will work its way onto my TBR, but we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't, I still have to read it. It is chunky, so it'd be better if it was on my mandatory TBR, but we'll see how it goes. I think that is all you actually need to know at the minute, so I'm going to grab my computer, we can pick a number and we can start working our way around the board. So as always, I set my parameters between 5 and 15, and this time we have got, I don't even know if you can see it on there, but it is a number 7. So you guys don't need to see me count, let's speed this up. Okay, so we have got our first prompt. Let's see what it is. Crap, not often I'm trying to like be clean as I go because the blue tack always annoys me on this wall because it's very hard to get off. But anyway, the first prompt is an odd number. So this just means it needs to have an odd number of pages. So I do have some things in mind that I want to read this month, so I'm going to go and see if any of them have an odd number of pages. Okay, so I don't know if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing for me because I'm getting the big book on the TBR straight away, but like what if Mansion comes up and then I have to add another big book? We'll see, but I'm probably going to listen to the audiobook of this anyway, and because I need to be like making notes as I go, so I'm probably going to have the audiobook on to make it easier for me. But anyway, I've already spoke about this book. I'm going to be reading Empire of the Vampire. This is the first book in what I believe is supposed to be a trilogy. The second book is coming out right at the end of the month. It's on the 29th of February. It is about a vampire hunter called Gabriel de Leon. He is the last of the Silver Saints, which is this group of vampire hunters, but he has been captured by a vampire and is basically told to tell his story of how he ended up being the last Silver Saint and also this hunt for the Holy Grail. That's pretty much all I can tell you because like obviously a lot happens in this book. It's pretty chunky, but the page count for it is 719 pages, so an odd number and a lot of pages. So glad I've been able to get this on my mandatory TBR at least, because it's not sort of going to be an extra thing because that would have just felt so intimidating. But the live show for this, like I said, will be towards the end of the month. I think it is on Lisa's channel this time, but all of the information for that will be on the Christoph Along Twitter, which I will link down below, so feel free to follow us on that. Okay, time to pick prompt number 2. And there we go, we have our second prompt, which is going to be a romance. So I've just realised I haven't put the prompt back up. I was wondering why the board looked weird, and it's because I always put the prompt back up once I picked it, and now I'm trying to find it because I've got all the ones that I've taken off as well. Here it is. So let us fix that, and then I will go and pick which romance book I'm wanting to read this month. So because I gave myself something slightly harder to read last time, I'm going to give myself something hopefully quite easy to read this time, which is Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I read another book by this author last year. I read Once More With Feeling, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. The premise sounded ridiculous, but in a good way, and it was just like a lot more fun than I expected it to be. I kind of thought if this is not written well, it could be awful, but it was. I actually enjoyed the writing style. So I don't really know too much about this one. It says 10 years later and she still has butterflies, but does he feel the same way? It seems basically like the main characters meet because one of them is writing a profile on the other one who is famous, and they have sort of like this one encounter together, and then 10 years later they come back together to do a second interview, and it says that Chani wants to pretend that she's forgotten about the time they spent together, but the truth is that Chani wants to know if those 72 hours were as memorable for Gabe as they were for her, and so she says yes. So I believe it's told in 2 timelines, and we see the first meeting and the second meeting, and like I said, I don't know too much about it, but I really enjoyed the other book I read by this author, so hopefully I like this one as well. So time to pick prompt number 3. A very quick one to pick, but the next prompt we have is Retelling, which I believe this one came up last month as well. I do shuffle the cards, I promise, because everything else is different. But Retelling, and I know exactly what I'm going to pick for this one. So I'm picking this one for various reasons, partly because I've just been wanting to reread this series, or actually continue with this series, but I need to reread the first 2 because I've been watching the TV show based on it, and it's made me want to actually finish the series, but also because I may have a video idea in mind that is to do with this. So I'm going to be rereading Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So obviously this is a retelling of Greek mythology. It's about this kid Percy who finds out that he is a demigod, he is a child of a god and a human woman, and part of the reason that he finds this out is because Zeus thinks that he has stolen his lightning bolt, and there is a quest that is involved to kind of prove his innocence in that, and also like a rescue mission as well. There's a lot that happens. I feel like most people know the general idea of what Percy Jackson is. Like I said, I've been enjoying the Disney TV show, so I'm excited to go back and finally finish the series. I read the first 2 while I was waiting to do jury service, and then got put onto a hearing, so then did not have as much time to read, and then went back to work and never picked them back up. So I'm hoping that this time I will actually be able to work my way through at least this first series. I do have all of these, and I have the Heroes of Olympus series as well, so I'm hoping to at least work my way through the first series this year. Okay, time for our last regular prompt. I should say, actually, I've just realised those are the same colour, so we're going to have to pick an extra one from the middle, but we'll do that at the end. Let's pick our last regular prompt first. So we have got one last prompt. Well, not one last, I know I have at least 2 more books to pick, but this prompt is an ebook. So this obviously can be many things, and I don't have my Kindle to hand, so bear with me 1 second while I try and figure out what books I actually have on my e-reader at the minute. I do have the Kindle app on my laptop, so I can look at it on there. I can't look at it on my phone because I'm using my phone to film, so I'm having to find a way around it. So what this should hopefully do is get me to read an arc, because I keep getting approved for things and not reading them. So let's see which ones I actually have on here that I might want to read soon. It would appear I've not sent most of my arcs to this particular reader, so let me go on Amazon instead. This is taking a lot longer to pick than I thought it would. Right, so let me just go on NetGalley. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, so I've got a couple of options for this one, and I really can't decide what to do, but I also feel like I'm not necessarily in the mood to read some of the like heavier stuff that's on here, and that's what some of my options are. So I'm going to probably read, I'm saying probably. So what I think I might do is pick another romance, because that'll be easier for me to read as well, and I'm going to read Do Your Worst by Rosie Dannon. I will insert the cover here. I got the arc of this one. It is, I can't even remember what the synopsis is, and they sort of like the paranormal hunters or something like that. And Sparks 5 and an occult expert and a disgraced archaeologist become enemies with benefits in this steamy romance from Rosie Dannon. So I'm actually not going to read too much else of the synopsis, because we all know I like to go into books not knowing too much. But I like Rosie Dannon's writing from what I've read of The Roommate and the Intimacy Experiment, and I've had this arc for a little bit now, and I would like to get to it. So I'm going to be reading Do Your Worst. I nearly forgot what the title was. I'm doing so well. And then it is time to pick our final 2 prompts. So we'll start with the extra. I'm trying to figure out which way I do this normally. This one we don't eliminate, we just go with whatever the first one is that we land on. So that is going to be this one, which is The Graceling by Kristen Kershaw. I honestly don't know what this one is about. I don't think I have it to hand. I'm looking to see if it's one of the ones that Meg has in here, but I don't think it is. I can't tell you anything about it other than it is one that Meg has put on my TBR. We'll see how it goes. Right, let us pick M.A.S.H, and then we have got our TBR for the month. So let's see. Hopefully it's nice to me. So glad that mansion didn't come up. So we have got Apartment, so that means it needs to be a small book, which is usually under 300 pages. I don't know what I actually have on my TBR, like my want to read TBR that is that short, so I'm just going to go and have a quick look. Okay, so I'm going to go with Last Violent Call by Chloe Gong. This one I can't tell you too much about because it is a series of short stories. Well, I think it's just 2 short stories that are set in the world of 2 of her other series, and from what I've looked at the synopsis of this, I think you need to have at least read the first 2, so These Violent Delights duology, and then also the first Foul Lady Fortune. I'm pretty sure that's when it came out, and I think that's kind of what you need to have read. Yes, it says surrounding the events of Foul Lady Fortune, so I'm not going to tell you too much because I don't want to ruin it, but it is only about 225 pages, which means it is a short book, and it is the last one I have to read in that world. So I'm going to put this one on my TBR, and this is what my TBR is looking like, plus the ebook, which I've already forgot what it is. It's Do It Worse by Rosie Dannon, so it's not too bad. I definitely have not been able to fit everything I want to read on here, so I'm hoping that I will read more, but this is what we have for the minute, and that is everything. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Let me know what is on your TBR for February, and I will see you guys soon with a new video. Bye.